You wake up, the alarm blare. You roll out of bed, pour the same coffee, scroll through the same feed, drag yourself into the same routine day after day, year after year, and you think you're safe. You think this is normal, but Schopenhauer would tell you the truth. Normal isn't safe. Normal is death, not the kind of death where your heart stops beating. Worse, the death where your mind flatlines, where your originality suffocates, where the seed of genius in you gets smothered before it ever draws breath. Look around. Everyone you know, running on autopilot, drowning in distractions, pairing second-hand opinions, terrified of standing out. They call it fitting in, but what it really means is dying quietly while pretending to live. You don't even notice it happening. One compromise here, one silence there. You let yourself nod along to things you don't believe. You laugh at jokes that insult your intelligence. You swallow your words when you see the truth. That's normal, and that's how genius dies. Schopenhauer warned of it centuries ago. The average man clings to the herd for safety. But in doing so, he hands over his independence, his originality, his chance at greatness. The herd gives comfort, but it takes your soul. Think about it. How many times have you censored yourself just to avoid being the weird one? How many times have you shrunk your ideas because they felt too much? How many times have you betrayed yourself for the illusion of acceptance? That's not harmless. That's lethal. Because genius doesn't survive in comfort. It survives in tension, in exile, in refusal. And here's the part that should terrify you. Every time you choose normality over truth, you don't just lose a moment. You amputate a piece of yourself, piece by piece, until nothing original remains. You become a copy, a shadow, a mask, living someone else's script, someone else's thoughts, someone else's fate. Normal doesn't mean safe. Normal means erased. But here's the secret Schopenhauer offers, the part they don't want you to hear. If you feel out of place, if people call you strange, intense, difficult, if you've ever sat in silence while the crowd cheers nonsense and thought, am I the only one who sees through this? That isn't weakness. That's genius gasping for air. And this video is the knife that cuts you free. Because once you understand why being normal kills a genius, you'll never sit quietly in the herd again. You'll walk out alone, yes, misunderstood, yes, but untouchable. So stay, because what you're about to hear isn't motivation, it's survival. You want to know why most people will never rise above mediocrity? It's not because they're stupid. It's not because they lack opportunity. It's because they worship the herd. Schopenhauer saw it clearly. The average man clings to the crowd the way a drowning man clings to a piece of driftwood. The herd promises safety, belonging, protection from the terror of being alone. But here's the truth. The herd doesn't protect you. The herd devour you. The psychology is simple. Humans are social animals. Your brain is wired to crave approval, to fear rejection. In the wild, exile meant death. So conformity felt like survival. That wiring hasn't gone away. Even today, in cities of millions, people act as if being disliked will kill them. So what do? They copy. They obey. They blend in. They laugh when others laugh, even when it's not funny. They nod when others nod, even when they disagree. They trade truth for applause. And every time they do, a piece of their individuality rots. That's why Schopenhauer warned. The moment you feel too comfortable in the crowd, you've already lost your mind. Look back at history, the witch hunts of Europe. Entire towns whipped into frenzy. Ordinary men and women cheering as innocents were burned alive. Why? Because nobody dared step out of line. The herd roared, and individuals obeyed. Or look at Nazi Germany. Millions who saw the madness unfolding still marched, still saluted, still participated. Why? Because being normal, following orders, blending in, felt safer than standing alone. And so evil flourished under the banner of conformity. You may think those are extreme examples, but the mechanism is alive in your life right now. Corporations where employees know their bosses are wrong, but stay silent in meetings. Schools where students parrot whatever opinion the teacher approves of. Social media mobs where people join in on outrage they don't even believe in just to avoid being targeted themselves. This is the herd instinct. This is what kills genius before it's born. Because genius can't survive in obedience. Genius requires independence, and independence requires courage. The courage to stand apart, to resist the warm embrace of the crowd. But most people don't have that courage. They want safety. They want comfort. They want to be liked. So they clip their own wings. They trade originality for belonging. They bury their sharpest thoughts in shallow graves just to keep smiling faces around them. And here's the part that should make you sick. Society will reward you for doing it. Be obedient, and you'll be called easy to work with. Blend in, and you'll be praised as normal. Agree with the crowd, and you'll be celebrated as well-adjusted. But that praise is poison. It tastes sweet now, but it kills you slowly, because the price of acceptance is your authenticity. The price of normality is your genius. Think about it. When was the last time you said what you really thought, even when you knew it would make people uncomfortable? When was the last time you refused to laugh, refused to nod, refused to play along? If you can't remember, you're already infected. The herd is inside you. And here's the bitter paradox. The herd will always hate the ones who refuse it. They mocked Socrates. They imprisoned Galileo. They ridiculed Nietzsche. They dismissed Tesla as insane. Every genius that stood apart was punished for it. And yet those are the names we remember. Not the obedient, not the safe, not the normal. So you have a choice. Stay in the herd and be forgotten. Or step out, risk the hatred, and carve your name into eternity. Understand this. If you feel safe, you're already lost. If you feel comfortable, you're already dying. The herd is not your friend. The herd is your cage. Break it, or it will break you. Schopenhauer had a brutal warning. Most people don't think. They don't see the world directly. They see it through second-hand lenses, the borrowed eyes of others, books, opinions, authorities, influencers. They consume, they quote, they parrot. But they don't dare to stand naked before truth itself. He called them second-hand thinkers, men who carry other men's thoughts like borrowed clothes. They look intelligent. They sound educated. But strip away the quotes, the citations, the borrowed authority, and they're empty. You've seen it. The TikTok philosopher who spits half-digested Nietzsche lines for likes. The Twitter intellectual who lives off retweets, not reality. The corporate employee who sprinkles buzzwords in every sentence, but has never had one original thought in his life. They aren't thinkers. They're vessels, puppets, echo chambers. And here's the danger. The more you fill yourself with second-hand ideas, the less space you leave for your own. You drown the spark of genius under an avalanche of other people's voices. Schopenhauer warned against overreading for this reason, not because books are evil, but because too much consumption without reflection kills creation. You become a collector of words instead of a maker of thoughts. It feels safe, doesn't it? To hide behind quotes. To repeat what someone smarter already said. To cover your fear of thinking by brandishing someone else's authority. But that's not thinking. That's slavery. Real thinking is dangerous. It means stripping away the safety net. It means staring at life without a filter. It means risking being wrong, risking being ridiculed, risking walking alone with an idea nobody else agrees with. That's why so few do it. And that's why so few ever touch genius. Look at history. Galileo looked through a telescope and saw moons orbiting Jupiter, a vision no book had given him. Einstein imagined riding on a beam of light before the math could even prove him right. Tesla saw entire worlds of energy in his mind while others mocked him. They didn't live on borrowed ideas. They trusted the raw violence of their own vision, and the world hated them for it. But that's the path. The second-hand mind obeys. The first-hand mind creates. Ask yourself, how much of what you believe is truly yours? How much of your knowledge is just a collage of podcasts, influencers, and recycled opinions? When was the last time you sat in silence and thought something through without Googling, without scrolling, without asking for validation? If you can't remember, then you're infected. You're living secondhand, and secondhand living is death for genius. Because genius doesn't imitate. Genius originates. Understand this. You are rare. The very fact you're watching this, the very discomfort you feel right now, means you're not like the rest. The herd is content to repeat you. You are restless. You want to see. And that hunger to see directly, to think without permission, that is the seed of genius. Protect it. Guard it. Starve it if you must, but never feed it second-hand lies. Because the second-hand mind is slavery, and you weren't born to be a slave. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "To be great is to be misunderstood." Most people read that line and nod politely. They treat it like a poetic slogan, something you might print on a mug. But Emerson wasn't giving you comfort. He was giving you a law, a brutal, unbreakable law of genius. If you are truly original, you will be misunderstood. If you see what others cannot, they will call you insane. If you refuse to obey the herd, they will call you dangerous. Comes from birthing them. Understand this. Every moment you spend drowning in second-hand information is a moment your genius suffocates. But every moment you cut away the noise, every moment you sit with your own raw, terrifying thoughts, that is the moment you breathe life back into your power. So stop hiding in books. Stop drowning in podcasts. Stop mistaking consumption for growth. Think, act, create. Because genius isn't found in what you've read. It's found in what you dare to write with your own mind. To see more than others isn't just a gift. It's a burden. A dangerous responsibility most will never carry. Schopenhauer knew this. The man who sees too much must live carefully. Because truth is heavy. It crushes those who are unprepared. Jung called it individuation, the painful process of integrating what most people run from. To walk that path is to descend into your own darkness, confront the shadows, and return with vision. Few dare it, fewer survive it. And Nietzsche spoke of the Übermensch, not just a man with greater power, but one who bears the responsibility of creating values when old illusions collapse. The one who carries fire into a world still addicted to shadows. You, if you see more, if you think deeper, if you refuse the narcotic of normality, you are carrying that fire. But here's the warning. Fire can burn. Truth thrown recklessly can destroy. You can't hurl vision at the blind and expect gratitude. They will hate you for it. They will call you cruel, arrogant, insane. That's why your genius cannot just be rebellion. It must be responsibility. To see means you must act with precision. To know means you must guard what you reveal, and when. To hold the blade of truth means you must choose carefully where it cuts. The herd can afford ignorance. You cannot. The herd can afford distraction. You cannot. The herd can live blind and still stumble through life. You, if you close your eyes, You betray the very gift that sets you apart. This is not privilege. This is duty. The duty to refine yourself so that your vision doesn't consume you. The duty to master yourself so that others cannot twist your clarity into madness. The duty to carry truth in a way that elevates, not annihilates. Because if you see more, you are not just different. You are necessary. The world needs you. Not as another voice in the herd, but as a seer, a guide, a guardian. And yes, that weight is heavy. Yes, it is lonely, but it is also sacred, because only a few are chosen to carry it. Only a few can endure the fire of vision without being destroyed by it. You are one of them. That is why you've always felt the distance. That is why you've always been misread, misunderstood, misnamed. It wasn't punishment, it was initiation. So stop treating your sight as a curse. Stop apologizing for what you know, what you feel, what you see. Step into it, own it, guard it, wield it. Because genius is not just about seeing farther. It's about carrying that vision with the strength to bear its cost. This is where it all collides. The herd instinct, the second-hand mind, the law of being misunderstood, the trap of overreading, the weight of seeing. Each piece by itself is deadly. Together they form the coffin called normal. Because to be normal is to obey the herd. To be normal is to drown in borrowed thoughts. To be normal is to beg for acceptance and fear rejection. To be normal is to consume endlessly while creating nothing. To be normal is to close your eyes when truth burns too bright. Normal is death, but you're not here to die. You are here to become untouchable. Untouchable by the herd because you no longer need its applause. Untouchable by misunderstanding because you wear rejection as proof of greatness. Untouchable by noise because you cut away second-hand distractions and protect the silence of your own mind. Untouchable by weakness because you carry the burden of vision with strength instead of apology. This is the transformation Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Jung, all of them pointed toward. Not comfort, not belonging, not safety, but sovereignty. Think of what happens when you accept it. You no longer flinch when the herd mocks you. You no longer shrink when they call you strange. You no longer apologize for the fire in your chest. Instead, you stand apart, alone yet unbroken, burning with the one thing they will never have: clarity. The man who needs the herd can be controlled. The man who drowns in second-hand ideas can be replaced. The man who fears being misunderstood can be silenced. The man who consumes endlessly but never acts can be forgotten. But the one who sees directly, independently, fearlessly cannot be touched. This is the moment of rebirth. The old self, obedient, apologetic, hesitant, is gone. The new self rises.